Sudokans, and welcome to Zen and the Art of the Guardian Sudoku Puzzle. It's Monday the 13th of February 2023. I hope you are keeping well, and welcome to the channel. If you are a beginner at Sudoku, whatever your level, don't worry, just come in, try some of the games, start at the easy stuff, beginner's stuff, and work your way up once you've got the hang of the basic idea. This channel is a kind of mishmash of my thoughts or something I'd like to talk about for the day, and the game of Sudoku thrown in. That's about it, really. But so what do I want to talk about today? Well, a couple of things, really, related things. One is about this Chat GPT software, this artificial intelligence software that I hope you've heard of. If not, you can just Google it. Oh, actually, they'll point you towards their competitor. But anyway, it's quite an amazing thing. Now, the reason I want to mention this is partly because of the other thing that I wanted to talk about. Now, I am so frustrated with the Labour Party, the opposition party in the UK, my former home, my still home, I suppose, technically, although I've lived in Thailand for 35 years. I'm a Londoner by birth and upbringing, and it annoys me to see what the Tories have done over the past, how many years is it now? Is it 14 years? I'm not sure. No, 12 is it or something? But anyway, long time. I've been out of the country for a long time and don't get to vote anymore anyway. So, but anyway, it is annoying to see, the terrible things that are happening. The health service, I mean, I get reports back, my telephone conversations involve listening to tales of woe, of months of waiting for NHS treatment, etc., etc. And the poor conditions that are applied to workers in the NHS and teachers, and just, the whole country is falling apart there. And Labour, I read just yesterday or the day before, I'm reading a story about Labour making a big fuss about the Tories using government credit cards to, for hotel rooms of a few £100s, or, buying this for £1,000. These are such small things compared to the millions of pounds that have been wasted and really corruptly stolen in VIP. There's another article today in VIP companies that, where Tories just handed out contracts to their friends, and where equipment for, say, PPP equipment to be used during the pandemic was not even used, and these companies didn't even exist before some polite Tory MP says, hey, would you like to make a fast buck? Why don't you start a company? Or maybe in the background, we'll start a company together. It's just so disgusting. And Labour is messing around with trivial stuff. Now, why do I mention ChatGPT? Well, if you are on this channel, unfortunately for you, the chances are you are not young. I don't like to tell you this. When I look at my demographic, it's unbelievable that almost everybody is like in their 50s plus. Hardly anybody below that. Now, if you are a younger person, please don't go. Please stay with us. I need all the help from younger people that I can get. And it's not supposed to be a curmudgeonly kind of channel or anything like that. It just so happens that it works out like that sometimes, I guess. Sudoku seems to interest the older generation, let's say. Anyway, I was trying to think of an idiom to express what Labour was doing, and I couldn't think of it. Now, if you are getting on a bit like me, you probably think, you get those times when you think, now, what is it? It's on the tip of my tongue. What is it? I'm trying to remember, just can't think of it. Now, often this is kind of like, where did I place my keys? Now, unfortunately, the ChatGPT is not going to help you find your door keys, right, if you've put them down somewhere and can't remember where they are. But sometimes there's a aspect of language that you want to say and you can't remember it. And I was trying to think of what it was, of like, messing around with tiny things when there are such major things going on. So I did a query on ChatGPT. That's openai.com if you don't know about this website. And to try to get it to think of the thing for me. And what it came up with was not what I was trying to think of, though, but it said it came up with the idiom, sweat the small stuff. And that wasn't what I was trying to think of, because what I was trying to think of was That's often used in a negative way, isn't it? Don't sweat the small stuff. But that's not really what I was looking for. I knew there was something else, so I kind of couldn't quite grasp it. And then suddenly it came to me, or part of it came to me. It was something about Nero. And I just, tried to expand on my original search. And yes, fiddling while Rome burns, about Nero fiddling while Rome burns. That's what I was trying to think of. And it had just escaped me for a while. And as soon as I saw it, oh, yes, of course, that's what it was. So this Chat GPT software could be a real boon for people who are getting on and sometimes just can't remember what it is that they're trying to think of, I'm not sure how it's going to do when it comes to music. I mean, sometimes I think, who was that composer, or what was that song, something like that, and I might be able to hum it a bit. I'm not sure how it's going to work like that, but hopefully in the future it will be able to sort out that kind of stuff. I don't suppose it will ever be able to tell you where you've put your door keys, though, so that's one disadvantage. Okay, right, now this is Monday, so that's always beginner's day on The Guardian with Sudoku. And so you've never played Sudoku before, or you've just played once or twice. I shall just give you a quick rundown of the rules. I say quick because it doesn't need much explanation, to be honest with you. You can see a grid of 9 squares across by 9 squares down. Rows across, columns down. Now, all this game entails is placing one digit in each square, which we sometimes call cells, and because there are 9 across and 9 down, the lowest number is 1, the highest number is 9. There are no zeros involved. And don't try to squeeze more than one digit into a square. We don't allow that either. So that's it. So numbers 1 to 9 in every row across, numbers 1 to 9 in every column down. Now you can see some numbers are already placed, and that's giving you a start. If it was an entirely blank thing, well, that would be murder, wouldn't it? We wouldn't know where to begin. But wait. We haven't quite finished, because you can also see that there are these black lines dividing the larger grid into 9 smaller blocks. Okay, now each of these blocks also contains 9 squares, and here's the rub. You have to fit numbers 1 to 9 in each of these small blocks as well. And that's it. That is the entirety of the rules. The thing to think about is, of course, because we can only have a number one time in each row, column or block, oops, if I can get my mouse right, each number cannot be repeated, and that's the thing that we basically use. So let's show you what I mean. Right, now we have a 5 in this row already, right? So that means none of these other squares could possibly be 5, because we already have a 5 in this row. Now we've also got a 5 in this row here, so none of these squares could be 5. And you'll notice, I hope, that I'm focusing on this block here. Now we've got a 5 in this column, so that block's all the way up here. I've gone past where I need to go, but that's okay. So let's look at this block here. Now we've got 5s blocking across here, and up here, and we've already got numbers in these squares, and that leaves just one square where we don't have a digit. And we know for sure that 5 goes there. There is no other searching to be done, nothing else to be thought of. Excuse me, I forgot about this. I have to click on this square before I enter the digit. Excuse me. It is early though. It is early, and I don't have to work today, actually, so I'm feeling quite fresh. I actually got a reasonable night's sleeping last night, unlike the last few nights. Right, so that's how we know. Now, I was saying there was only one square. You don't need to look for any other digits. Once you've found only one possible location where a digit can go, it must go there. Nothing else can go there. The game has only one solution. The puzzle is has a unique solution. Right, now you can see 5s across this row, and up this column, and up this column. Again, we leave just this one square here where a 5 can go, and so we know it goes there. Now actually we've got a 5 here and here and here, so these top 3 blocks have got 5 here and here and here. The middle blocks have got 5. We've got 5 here, and we've got a 5 here, but we don't yet have a 5 in this block. Now if we have a digit, the same digit, already placed in each of 8 blocks, whichever 8 blocks they are, we can always find the 9th iteration of that digit. So I know that I can find a 5 here before I even start to look for it, because there's only one left. So that's something that can help you as you play. Now there's a 5 blocking down here, and there's a 5 blocking down here. Or you could have said there's a 5 across here, it doesn't matter. But there will be a 5 in that square. And now we have every possible 5 on the board filled in. So we don't have to consider digit 5 anymore. Just the other 8 numbers to go. Right, now there are various ways that you can move forward. One thing you can do is you could start looking through the numbers one by one. It's often a useful thing. I often do that when I get kind of stuck. Sometimes you can just see if you've got a block or a column or a row that doesn't have many missing, you can also inspect that. For example, we've got 3 digits missing from this particular block. Now we've already got 6, so we're just looking for 3 missing numbers here. So this might be interesting to find out what's missing. Now we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 and 9. So when we remove those digits from our series of 9, we find what we are left with is 4, 6 and 7. That's what we need to fill these 3 squares, 4, 6 and 7. Okay, now let's see, 7 blocks down here, and there's another 7 up here blocking here. So immediately we can say that the 7 must go here, because that's the only possible square that's not affected by these 2 7s. And now we know that 4 and 6 go here. Now we look up here and down here, and we look across here, and we say, I don't know. So at this point we have to leave that for now and come back to these 2 digits later. We do know that it's 4 or 6 only, but we don't know which is which, so we have to forget that for now. We also have 3 empty squares along this row here, right? So again, this could be a place to look. So let's see what's missing. We've got 2, 3, 7, 5, 8, 9. So what we don't have is 1, 4 and 6. 1, 4 and 6. So let's see. Well, 1 blocks this square, so 1 could appear in those squares. 4 blocks this square, so 4 could appear in those squares. And 6 blocks this square, so 6 could appear in those squares. So that's no good to us. So we've examined it, and it was found wanting. It was no good to us. It didn't get us anywhere. But this is the game, you know, this is how we go about playing the game, or one way of playing the game. There are various ways to play it, to be honest with you, but one thing that's common often is to explore where you just have a couple, 2 or 3 missing digits, see what goes in there. Now, I've seen something else. Sometimes things just kind of jump up at you. Actually, what I have seen is, although I can actually place the 4 here, because we've got 4 blocking down here and 4 blocking down here. Now, if you saw that while I was examining the 4, well done you. I was looking at something else. Sometimes I miss things like that, but we can see the 4 is blocking down. So in fact, we do know that 4 goes there. And now that will in fact allow us to finish this row, because we have the 1 blocking this square, and we don't have a 1 in this row yet. And now we're left with only 1 empty square. So we know that the 1 goes there, and now we have just 1 empty square to complete the series. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no 6. We've got 7, 8, and 9. We know that it has to be a 6. Got the idea now? Okay, so we can go along doing various similar things, similar activities, until we finish the game, at which point we feel satisfaction at having looked and found our digits. Now, that's all the game is about. It doesn't win you any money. It won't make you a lot of money on YouTube. Or maybe it will, I don't know, but not on this channel. 6 is blocking across, puts a 6 here. But you do have this satisfaction of knowing that you battled with a logic puzzle and you won. And that's really what the game is about. Okay, now, I want to show you how Sudokans, my term, I trademark that term, how Sudokans think. We've got 7 blocking across this row here, right? Do you agree? Now look, this middle row in this particular block is already filled with digits. So that means 7 can't go here or here, so it must be in one of those 3 squares at the top. Do you agree? Great. Your logic is good. Right, now what does that mean? Well, if it appears in this square, it blocks across here. If it appears in this square, it blocks across here. And if it appears here, it doesn't matter, it still blocks across here. So we know that neither of these squares can be 7. Now let's come back to our 7 over here and say 7 blocks across here. and the 7 blocks up here. So guess what? Again, because we understand that 7 has to be in one of these squares, we don't know which one, but it's in one of them. We understand that we can place a 7 here. And that's the logic, the kind of logical thinking that you need to move forward with Sudoku. Now, okay, how about this column here? Now we can actually place a 7 in this column as well. And I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to look for it and try to work out why. Come on, use your logic. Get to it, get to it. You're not that old. Or if you are that old, pretend you're not that old. All right, I think that's long enough. So you should have spotted that 7 goes in this square. Now, if you're not sure why, I'll show you why. There's a 7 blocking all the way across this row, and there's a 7 blocking across this row, and there's a 7 blocking across this row. So these squares cannot possibly be 7. We know, in fact, that the 7 goes up there, like that. Okay. Right. Okay, let's see what else we can do. Now, sometimes for me, having played the game for a long time, some numbers kind of jump up and shout at me and say, hey, hey, look at me. And then sometimes they don't. And if they don't, then generally speaking, what I'll do is what I mentioned earlier is either look for a few digits missing or maybe down here. But I think not. There's nothing down here. Yes, there is something down here. Okay, I've seen it now. Yes, look for this because there are only 3 empty squares here. And so the missing digits, we've got 1, 2, 3. We don't have 4. We don't have 7 and we don't have 9. So what can we say? We look here, 4, 7, 9. Well, yes, we've got the 9 blocking across, but actually we didn't even need that. That would put 9 into, say, this square or this square. 4, 7, no, we don't know. Up here we've got 7 blocking down here. Yeah, that's okay. But look, there is a 9 up here blocking all the way down here, and that leaves us with just one possible square. We know that the 9 must be there, and that means we're going to be left with 4 and 7 here. But we can't do much about the 4 and the 7 just yet, so we won't bother. We'll leave it. Come back later. Now, other things that we can do, as I said, is to kind of go through the numbers one by one. Some people like to do this, some people don't like to do this. The choice is entirely yours. Remember, Sudoku, free choice. You have free will to do whatever you like, except guess. Please don't guess the answer. That's not the way to play Sudoku. You need to find the answers through logic only, not guessing. Now, I've discovered something, but I'm not going to show you. I think as beginners, I'm going to keep it quiet. So I have discovered something, and no doubt our more advanced players will have seen something else as well, but I don't want to talk about it for now because I want to keep it on the real beginner's level. So I'll tell you about the 8s blocking up here and 8 blocking across that I happened to spot while looking for something else. I wasn't looking for that, but I saw it on the way, and my philosophy is that if you are looking at a Sudoku puzzle and you see something, even if you're looking for something else, you should immediately do it before you forget, because especially in my case, I'm likely to forget. And if I ask ChatGPT, it won't tell me what I've just forgotten, right? It's never going to do that. Right, we have 8s blocking up here, across here, and across there, so we know that has to be an 8 there. All right, now this one is, I think, not too advanced. I can show you this. We are going to place a 6 in this box here. Now, how are we going to do that? First up, we can see the 6s blocking down here and up here like this. And that leaves us with 2 empty squares, right? And you say, well, we look across here and say, well, there's a 6 in the middle, but it doesn't help. How do you know that the 6 is going to appear down here and not up here? Well, we know that because when we look over here, we have the 6 blocking all the way down here, right? And that's going to mean that 6 must be in one of these 2 squares here. Can't be in any others. Can't be down here because we've got the 6 blocking. So now that we know that 6 is in one of these two squares, we can say blocking across here, blocking down, blocking up, and we can deduce that 6 goes in that square through logic, no guessing. Okay, now, all right, I will show you something that's, I was kind of not going to show you, I was not going to show you something up here, but the same kind of thing has happened, but I will talk about it. Okay, we know that the 6 blocks down here, so we know that 6 is in those squares. Now look, you'll notice that there is a 9 blocking up here as well. So we know that 9 is in these two squares here, not here or here, right? So we've got 6 and 9 both blocking both of these squares here. So we know that 6 and 9 are the only two numbers that can go into these two squares. Now there's two numbers, two squares, that's it. No more to think about. We don't know which is which just yet, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. We understand that because this is 6 and 9, 6 and 9 are forbidden here, must go here. Well, we've got all of the other numbers in this block, so we know what goes here. It's not 6 or 9. We've got 1. Do we have a 2? No. 3? Yes. 4? No. 5? Yes. 6? Yes. 7? Yes. 8? Yes. 9? Yes. So what are we missing? 2 and 4. So we know that these two squares can only contain 2 or 4 because 6 and 9 are here. So let's see now. 4 blocks across here. So we know that the 4 goes there and the 2 goes there. I'm really holding your hand today and I hope you enjoy my hand holding for those of you who have played the game a little bit before, but I'm really aiming today's video at absolute beginners. Now I'd like you to find the missing 2 in this particular row. Could you do that for me? I'll twiddle my thumbs for a second. I'll just look for the door keys that I lost earlier on. Ah, good, you've found it, because we have 2 blocking this square, 2 blocking this square, and 2 blocking this square. So in this row, the only square or cell, sometimes called cells, C-E-L-L, not S-E-L-L, unaffected by 2s is that square there. Okay, so what I was going to show you before, or was considering showing you before, is that 1 and 3 block up these columns, and that's going to leave us with 1 and 3. But you don't need to see that now because you can just see what's missing from this particular column. So 1 and 3 must be in these two squares. We know that these squares can only contain 1 or 3. So does that help us? Yes, it does. Because we understand that 1 and 3 are in these squares, we know that these squares cannot be 1 or 3, and we have everything else. So that means that these squares must comprise 4 and 9, because we have 1 and 3 here, and we have all of the other digits except 4 and 9. So these two squares can only contain 4 or 9, and we have a 9 blocking across here. So here's our 9, here's our 4, like so. Now 4 blocks all the way down here, that puts a 4 into that square. And the missing number here is going to be 6. Now the 6 blocks all the way up here, and that puts 6 into that square. And now we have just one empty square for this block or this column. It is the same number, of course. I told you at the beginning there is only one solution to Sudoku. Very often you'll find various ways to get the same information, the same digit. Okay. So that's a useful thing about Sudoku. Now this 9 blocks all the way across the top here, and this 9 blocks up here. So in this particular block, we get a 9 there. And that's it, because the places for digit 9, the places that are left that are possible are these 4 squares here. Now we can't say which is which, because if a 9 appears in that square, this can't be 9, that will be 9, so we'll have 9s like that. But if a 9 appears here, we will have a 9 in that square. But from now, we just can't say which is which. So we have to forget the 9s and do something else. Okay. Right, what should we do? And by the way, I never play these games ahead of time. Whatever level I'm playing on this channel, easy, medium, or hard. I don't play the games ahead of time, so sometimes it can take me a while to find the right number, or the next move, I should say. Sometimes it takes me quite a long time. Such is life. Well, I can't see it, so let's see. The best thing to do probably in this case is going to just click on the digits one by one and see what I'm left with. Okay, I'm not sure I can do that. No. Well, so that's one. Yes. Okay, I can do something. Okay, so again, you have to kind of think forward a little bit. I hope this is not turning you off if you are new to Sudoku, because I don't really want to explain anything that's a bit complicated. But look, 2 blocks all the way up here, right? So we know that 2 is in either this square or this square. 3 blocks all the way up here, so we know that 3 is either in this square or this square. Now again, we've got 2 numbers, 2 squares, so we know that 2 and 3 must be in these 2 squares. Now when we look at the block again, we see what's missing. We don't yet have 1, we don't yet have 4. We've got 2, 3 in these squares. So the 4 blocks across there, so that'll be the 4, and that must be the 1. Okay, so 1 blocks back this way and places a 1 there, and now we've got 1 number for this block or this row, whichever way you look at it. It's going to be a 3. Okay, right, now let's go back to the 1s. 1 now blocks down here and 1 blocks up here, so that's going to give me a 1 in that square. 1 blocks across here, 1 blocks across here, and 1 blocks up here. It's going to place a 1 in that square. We've got 1 across here and 1 up to the top there. That's our final digit 1. We now have digit 1 in each of the squares, blocks I should say. So 1 and 5 are both complete. So we're looking for the other numbers, but we don't have to worry about 1 or 5 anymore. Let's see what else we got. Now there's an empty square in this column, so that's really the next place to look, because we're sure we can find it. We don't have a 3, we have everything else, so we know that that must be a 3. Now we'll take that 3 and say 3 blocks across here, 3 blocks across here, and 3 blocks up here. That will give us a 3 in that square. And that's as far as we can take the 3s for now. We have to come back and look at them later. So let's go on 4. We've got 4 blocking down here and 4 blocking across here. That puts a 4 into that square. We've got 4 blocking across here. We still need a 4 in this block, so 4 goes there, and that's the last one. Now the next thing is not to go on to the next possible digit. The next thing is to see what is missing here, and that's going to be a 7. So we'll place our 7 there. We can't quite finish the 7s yet. Now we've made some changes already. We've done some things, so it might be a good idea to go back and start again. Now 1, 4 and 5 are finished, so I'm going to start looking at digit 2 again. Now 2 blocks up here, so now we can place a 2, whereas a moment ago we couldn't. Now we can place a 2 in that square. 2 blocks across here and 2 blocks across here, so 2 goes there. Or you look along here and you find the missing digit, and you'll find that it's a 2 also. Now 2 blocks up here, and that gives us a 2 there. 2 blocks that way, and that gives us a 2 there. So that's done now. We have a 2 everywhere. Now there's 1 empty square here, and that will be a 3. If you think I'm finding these numbers a bit quickly, that's okay. It's just your eye tends to pick them up a bit quicker once you've played a few games. Yours will too, I promise you. 3's block like this, and that's the final digit 3. Now there's just 1 empty square along here, and it's going to be a 7 that we need to complete this row. So let's put that 7 in, and then say 7 blocks up here and 7 blocks across here, and that gives me a 7 in that square there. Do we have any single empty squares? No, I don't think we do. We've got 2 here, 2 here, 2 there, 2 and 2 and 2. All right, now the missing numbers that we still need to get a 6. And when we see the 6 up here blocking all the way down here, we know that the 6 goes here, and that's the final digit 6. And now we're left with 1 empty square, so we know that's got to be an 8. Now this 8 blocks up here, and that gives us an 8 there. And this 8 blocks across here, and that gives us an 8 there. Now we only have digit 9 left to place. We have 2 empty squares. 9 goes in both of those squares, and that finishes the game. That's our Guardian beginner level game for Monday. I hope you've enjoyed this, and please try the other beginner and easy games on this channel. There are a lot of them, and then try to work your way up towards medium level and then the harder level. And we only really mostly play newspaper games here, so they don't go up to the incredibly difficult super expert level that you'll need for some internet games. We don't really do many of those, the occasional one here or there. That's about it. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, enjoy your week, and don't forget ChatGPT. If only you can remember ChatGPT, right? Don't forget that, otherwise you'll never get anywhere. Bye-bye.